Alright, hello everybody and welcome back to another Texas Chainsaw Massacre the game video. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a recap on the recent dev Q&A from Gun Interactive, and I will cover what I consider to be the biggest questions and their answers. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to cover the whole 2-hour stream, so I tried to condense it as much as I could and make it more digestible. So, let's waste no more time and let's jump right into this video. Alright, so the first question is, are there any long-term plans for the game, i.e. additional family members, victims, and maps?
We have somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 to 9 months worth of content we're planning. That's, maps and new characters and some new kills. There's all kinds of goodies that we've got planned for you guys. Obviously, if there's still a player base and you guys are still buying things, we're going to keep building them. Every dollar that comes in from content, I put into content and servers. Like, that's how we keep the ship afloat. So yes, that's our current plan.
While later in the stream they did confirm that there's no official roadmap for the game to be released anytime soon. Basically, they're just going to be releasing content when they feel that it's ready and when they feel that it's appropriate to release it. And I totally understand that. Sometimes you do release a roadmap and something happens that is out of your control, and then people do get mad or irritated about it, or like, wait, where's the content, where's this, where's that? So I understand why they're not releasing a roadmap. All right, the next question is, can we expect other events in the future that are a bit more than the double XP event and challenges in the game?
Yeah, the short answer is yes. It's something that we actually wanted in at launch as well, and the way that we were trying to get it put in there, it wasn't coming to fruition the way we wanted it to. So we had something we had to punt on just to obviously get the game launched was, obviously priority one. But yeah, that's a thing we want to put in. I can't tell you a date or when that's going to happen or if that's going to happen, but I know it's a thing we've all discussed, we've all wanted. And there's some telemetry and stuff that's already into the game that helps us, at least from some data perspective, to get the ball rolling on those types of things. So short answer, yes.
Next up, what about the ability to have individual skill trees for each loadout? This is something that I have myself thought about a little bit, and this is kind of what they had to say about it.
We tried to make sure that we separated, certain perks into different parts of those trees. We decided on which perks would even be available in certain trees. And then we gave everybody kind of like a fun random roll spot here and there where they could get ones that are outside of the tree. And that was how we envisioned it pre-launch. Now, we know that there's been friction over the random perks. We know there's been friction over, how that respecing and all of that works. So obviously we're listening to the feedback. But I think that something with creating a situation where those trees kind of change is going to be more down the line, maybe with, the rank 99 push up past 99, which we'll talk about. There's a question in here directly related to that. Possibly with a push past rank 99, possibly with more content or more metagame unlockables. It's something that we'll look into and we'll explore. But as it stands right now, we want to try to make sure that when you're building with intent, and you have some things that are cut off to you, because again, there's not really much of a need for a tree if you can just say, well, all of this is mine now, and you kind of get to this point where there's no more experimenting or moving around throughout that tree.
The next question is, how often can we expect patches? Obviously, they came out like less than 3 months ago, and they were like on the weekly kind of patch release day, and then they obviously moved into larger patches that take a little bit longer. That's kind of to be expected. Obviously, they can't keep the 1-2 week release patch dates. So this is what they had to say about that.
So now that we're out of hotfix mode and back and into like actual legitimately the long-term fixes we know we want and new content, things like that, I think you can rest assured around every 30 to 45 days we'll be targeting a patch.
All right, the following question is kind of a multi-step question, but basically, will there be levels past level 99? Will there be a prestige system? And will an in-game currency be added is something that a lot of people have been wondering, if you'll be able to grind that in-game currency and whatnot to be able to purchase certain things or unlock certain things, and this is their answer.
Are we raising the level from 99? Yes, that is happening. I can't give you a date when it's happening, but yeah, it's been an ongoing discussion here. Whether it be currencies for earning, it's also been an ongoing discussion here. It's a thing that we think is a smart move. It gives people something to grind towards, and it gives them obviously also an option to, if you can't afford or you don't want to buy the content that we're putting out, is there an alternate way that you could get to it? Yes, and I think that's fair, and we want to work towards that. Again, I don't have a date in front of me because we literally came out of hotfix mode, which is just putting out as many fires as we can, as fast as we can. And then it was, rolling into this biggest patch because we had to merge all those splintered builds into one main build.
The next question is, will there be a way to make Leatherface not mandatory? So the whole issue with Leatherface required to start a match is something that has been holding some of the lobbies kind of hostage or sending people back to the main menu of the game. And this is their response, which may surprise you.
Yes, and that's coming by the end of the month.
I think it's important that we note Leatherface is an important part of every match. Now, I think that some of you are going to go, oh, all right, Leatherface is not mandatory, and hop right in there and play without Leatherface and start realizing why maybe Leatherface was a little bit mandatory to start with. There's going to be growing pains with this, guys. Get ready. When you see no Leatherface, just know that match is going to run a little different. You're missing a significant part of that match. That being said, we want to hear all of your feedback once that hits, because I think that's going to be a really interesting time for the game.
I agree.
Having that force not present in every match. I think that there's and again, I don't mean this insulting, but I think that there's a bit of take him for granted happening. And when you go and extract him from it, I think people are going to go, oh wait, I get it now. Yeah, I need that.
Yeah, for sure.
So there you have it. We're actually getting an option for Leatherface not required to start the match. So we will be able to very soon be able to play without Leatherface. But they did say that it will come with some growing pains. Makes me wonder if the barricades will still be up and just family members are going to have to adjust to that. What else do they mean by you may feel that pain of not having Leatherface, and he plays a very crucial part, which I do understand. Leatherface does play a crucial part on the game, specifically if the barricades are still going to be up. What do you do about it? You have to go all the way around. Will victims have an advantage or something? Will the barricades be removed? I guess we'll have to see when that ability comes out very soon. Any plans for a single player mode?
Yes. It's in the works. It's been in the works for a while. It's not done yet. I don't know when it's going to be done, but as soon as we do know, we'll let you know. And we're working with the same team that built the virtual cabin to build what we are internally dubbing museum mode. So you can take that and probably start to get a picture of what that might be.
Very interesting. Museum mode. That means, it sounds to me, and I could be wrong maybe, but it sounds to me like maybe you can explore some more of the lore, learn more about Maria Flores and kind of those characters. I wonder what else they have in store for us. Obviously, there's no date on it yet, but I am very excited for what they have to show when the time comes. The next question is a very spicy one, and I did cover a video on this previously on the channel. And, over time, I kind of realized that it's a hard thing, like some people are not going to be happy. Some people might be okay. But will the prices for the upcoming DLCs be changed or reduced? And this is what they had to say about it.
Here's the thing about the negative feedback. Yeah, we understand where you're coming from. And honestly, when it comes to pricing, to an extent, you're always going to hit some friction with when you release those things. We knew that when we put the pricing list out, there was going to be people who were like, oh, that's a little less than I expected. There's going to be people who were like, that's more than I expected. And then somewhere in the middle was where it was going to lay out. But when it comes to making those decisions, we have to look at what we put into those characters. This is a creative process. And anytime, any creative process, you have to assign what you think the value of that creative output is. And we did so, not lightly. We didn't sit here and just go, let's see if we can get away with that. We assigned a price to these things that we felt was worth it for the creative work that went into them. The mocap, the VO, the design, all the lore, all the character backstory, all the things, animations, kills, all of the things that go into making a character. Okay, well, what does that all cost? And what amount do we feel is fair to ask for that? And those are the numbers we landed on. But what it really comes down to is, as far as just straight up, flat out saying we're changing the price, I feel that we put a lot of thought into those prices, and we did our due diligence on them, and those are the prices. Yeah. We feel that's what those creative outputs are worth. Whether or not you'll see a bundle or a sale or whatever, sure.
Followed up by, what about skill-based matchmaking? Will that ever make it into the game? And this is what they had to say about this matter.
No. That's a short answer. Skill-based matchmaking is usually something you find in competitive-based games. Gun does not make competitive games. Gun makes cinematic horror experiences. We try to immerse you in the world of a film to make it feel like you were in a film. I've said it 6 ways to Sunday, is when you're with your friends and you finish watching a horror movie, the credits roll, you look at each other and you say, what would you have done? We make games that answer that. And that's the whole point of it. It's fun with your friends. Get to put your money where your mouth is. Would you have ran? Would you have fought? What would you have done? We try to build games with tools and mechanics and systems that allow you to answer that. What we don't do is make a game that, for people to get sweaty in and get toxic and yell at each other. And skill-based matchmaking can be a road towards that. Now, does that mean forever, never in the future, we're never going to have that? If the game is getting long in the tooth and we're starting to see a bifurcated audience and there's a need for that, it's a thing we would discuss and look at. But right now, the game doesn't need it.
And now a big one, a big question that everybody has been wondering. When is the new victim and family member going to be released? And Matt took to answering this one, and you may be excited.
I get to share some good news for once, and you'll be seeing them and playing as them by the end of the month.
Ooh, that's big time.
Let's go. Let's go.
Big time.
Dude, I'm so excited. I can't wait for the end of the month to be able to play the new characters. It's going to be so much fun, and I'm hoping that you are excited as much as I am, because I am. I'm definitely excited, and it should be very, very fun to play the new characters and play the new map. As many of you know, obviously Leatherface in the movies has the hammer / like sledgehammer. Will that ever come into the game? And will there be more environmental kills in the future added to the game as well?
So yeah, we did have some early discussions, and I think there may even be some brief mocap of Leatherface using a mallet. The difficult part was we didn't like that, like Leatherface exchanging weapons and things. It would be odd. Like, what would he do with a chainsaw? Like, he's not going to stick it on his back, like he's, Ash from Evil Dead or something. Like, it didn't match. If he set it down and then pulled out a mallet, it's like, then how do you get the chainsaw back? You have to walk back over and pick it up, and players would, in some instances, would like, oh, where did I lay the chainsaw? Or something weird happens where there's a high ping and the chainsaw disappears into the earth. You've seen weird stuff happen in games, so that felt like we were just asking for some troubles like that to happen. Now, does that mean you're never going to see that? You might see something in the future that is affiliated with that weapon, but more on that in the future. The second part of that question was about, I think, sort of contextual kills or executions.
Yeah, environmentals and
Correct.
things like that.
Because obviously, Leatherface can take someone to the gallows. We've got plans for some other things. We don't have all those totally ironed out yet. It is on our wish list.
This is a good question, and I've thought about that, and I think it was something that was mentioned prior, but it was adding characters from other movies, because obviously this game is a prequel to the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie from the 70s. So will we ever see any other characters from TCM films?
Does Gunn want the other films in the franchise, or in some capacity, do they want that in this game? Short answer, yeah. But it's not like I can walk into Walmart and say, yes, I'll take one Texas Part 3, please, and I have it. It doesn't work that way. It's usually multiple people have to say yes. Multiple people have their hand out, meaning you have to pay licensing fees for all those things. And at the end of the day, you have to always figure out, when you wrap all that cost in to just acquiring it, and then you have to build it, it's like, can you make enough money to offset what it costs to do it? Sometimes the answer is no. But do we want to do it? Absolutely. Are there conversations happening right now? Absolutely.
And could we see Sally?
Legacy characters like
Legacy
Sally
characters.
and Pam?
Yeah. So that our game is based. It's a prequel. It's before that film took place. So it would be a bit odd to see characters from the film show up when the game was like Groundhog Day, right? It's months before the first film took place, and you're replaying that day, and so it'd be weird for suddenly to see characters from the film all of a sudden show up in that same time. It's not impossible, but at some point, is everyone okay with like the suspension here of disbelief and just go, whatever? We live in a post like Spider-Man metaverse now, and it's like, whatever, just do whatever you want. People want the content. Like, I mean, maybe, but also I don't have the rights to use those characters' likenesses. I can use their name, so I can call anybody. Like, I can just make a generic character and say that's this person or whatever. But if you want them, I wouldn't want that as a fan. I would want it to look precisely like they did in the movie. So I have to track down that person, usually work with their agent, and then discuss a deal, pay the money, and then you make them. If you got to scan them, or you just making them from like portraits that they send in. It's a longer process. There's a lot to it. So I guess it also comes down to like how many people really want that. Do you really want that, or do you want more like new stuff that you haven't seen before? Or from looking at the other films in the franchise, do we want to? How important is that? How important is Texas 2? How important is Chop Top? How important is et cetera, Jessica Biel's character, for example? Like, is that weird that you see her running around in this? Like, yeah, that's kind of weird too. Like the time frames are off. What's this now? So there's a lot of creative discussions that has to go into that too. And there's also the like, what will you guys put up with? Is that not weird to you? Or are you like, nah, man, it's cool, just do it?
Mm-hmm. I mean, to me, it sounds like it's not impossible. It's more up to what we as players put up and what we want. So if there's a demand for it, obviously they'll do their best to probably reach to their rights holder and get that ball rolling on it. It also sounds, from what I remember watching in the stream, that they sort of imply, and I could be wrong, I'm not going to put anything out there or like misinterpret what they said, but it sounds to me like they are in some talks or conversations with some of those right holders and some of the people or actors that were in those films to get their likeness and whatnot. But that's also something that takes time. And obviously, it's not something that they're probably going to do willy-nilly, and it's not something that's going to come out straight or right away, unless they've been working on it since a couple months ago and they're already maybe halfway through it. They don't want to announce it yet. Only time will tell. But it's not impossible, and it's not a no. So that's what matters in the end. What about buffs to Sissy and Johnny, since a lot of people play Cook and Hitchhiker? Yes, a lot of people do play Cook and Hitchhiker. I myself am, I'm guilty of that. I'm sorry. But this is what they had to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of touched on this a little bit with, we're always, sort of turning the knobs and looking at balance and looking at how players are playing. And does this person need to be nerfed? Do they need to be buffed? Like, those are constant conversations, weekly stand-up meetings all the time where we're looking and discussing these things. So about that thing specifically, I mean, I don't know if it's more like holistically everyone, every family member, every victim, where do we need to make some minor adjustments? And again, we have to do these in minor. Like if you think of it as like a volume knob from 0 to 10, and if it's currently at a 2 and everyone says it sucks, it's terrible, we can't crank it to a 6 because the ripple effect of that is going to break other things that you might not be seeing the full picture on. So we may only go from a 2 to like a 3 or 4 and then wait and see what that feels like. It's crucial for us also to get that feedback when we do make those adjustments. So when you see patch notes, it's like we adjusted this perk for something. Play that perk, and then if you're like, no, it's still not good, or it needs this, or it needs that, it allows us to, okay, let's go back and look at how they were playing with it. How were they using it? Did we not explain well that they're not using it the right way, or do we just need to keep turning that knob until that feels better?
You start slamming those knobs one way or the other, next thing you know, things are kind of starting to go off the rails. We try to take a measured approach to these things, and we do so for the best interest of the community. So, by all means, continue talking to us about it. Play with those characters, give them a chance, try them out, find those pain points, even if it's a little rough, and then report back to us with experience. We can work that into that measured approach and be all the better for it.
Then, as an add-on question, which relates to kind of Sonny's ability, people calling Sonny kind of, quote, weak, or his ability not being very useful, the response was pretty much the same that they replied to the Sissy and Johnny questions. I mean, it's both related, like buffs to characters. So if you're wondering for Sonny, same response that they said is what applies to Sonny's ability. The next question is a broader thing related to the Rush meta and what they're doing or will do to adjust it to fit with the game.
There should be moments of playing stealthy followed by moments of panic where you panic and you got to take off and run and do things. Not being stealthy should never not be possible. Not being stealthy should be a choice you make, and you basically take on said risk, knowing that it's more dangerous in order to get yourself out of a situation. That being said, stealth should be more effective. I don't think I'm making too bold of a statement for the team here. We all see that stealth should be more effective and more impactful. That way, stealth is slower, safer, and more effective. Speed is more dangerous, but can also be effective.
Yeah.
So we have some changes coming up, actually.
We do. Yeah, I think you'll start to feel some of those by the end of the month. I think
Yeah.
you'll start to feel some that we've been adjusting those knobs and pulling levers. So let us know.
So obviously the rush meta is something that a lot of people have complained about it. A lot of people have wondered if there's anything you can do to fix that. And obviously you don't want to fully like force people into play a certain way. But apparently, as they said, there's something that's coming in the big patch, I think towards the end of the month or whatnot, that will kind of reward, or I guess make us the people who play stealthily, to be, I guess, rewarded, or if we can expect something more from that. So we'll have to see. And when that comes, we'll make sure to review it and play the game and see how that is. Now, a good one that I was not expecting is for all you horn dogs out there, can they confirm that a shirtless Johnny is on the works?
Oh, here we go.
Let's go.
Here we go. Back to my original statement, right?
Yeah.
That these folks are
Horny.
horny.
It's all right. We can say it. Yeah. I don't think
I'll say
they're
this.
shy
I'll say
either.
this about this is people have actually came to us a lot with this comment, with this request, but they've all came to us pretty cool about it. Granted, horny, yes. Weird, kinda, but no one's been a jerk about it. So for that, yeah, confirmed. There's a shirtless Johnny coming. When? You have to stay tuned.
All right, let's go. Now, if any devs out there are watching this video, I will ask very nicely. Love you. I main cook for most of my games, you know? It's either cook or Leatherface. I would love a shirtless cook. Or maybe a tidy whitey cook, you know, just cook coming out in his underwear, putting his padlocks. Tidy whitey's just, you know, there, maybe with a brown streak mark in the back. I'm kidding about that. But, you know, maybe a shirtless cook. I can settle for that. Wouldn't be too bad. I would pay good money for that. A shirtless cook. But maybe a shirtless boba. I don't know. Much love, Gun, though. Love you all. Thank you so much for the amazing game. Moving on. Balance-wise, someone did ask about map balancing and what their thoughts are on them, and this is their response to that question.
We have balance changes coming to Slaughterhouse, like you said, and we moving that valve upstairs. When it comes to Family House, we looked at Valve Escape as something that was supposed to be not the easiest way out. There's a risk reward there. And I think this might shock a few of you to hear, but Family House is actually kind of the most true to design version of the Valve Escape because it's right there in the yard. Yeah, that's how that valve is supposed to, in our minds, function. It should be one of the most risky escapes. That being said, we're making the changes. We're bringing those valves out or the tanks rather, out into the kind of, you know, higher traffic areas on Slaughterhouse to make them more visible, which will bring them actually more in line with Family House.
Something interesting. And we did see that I think the person who played Chop Top was at Gun Studios. So if Chop Top were to be added, would it be a skin or a character? And this is what Wes had to say about it.
Good question. If I'm putting Chop Top in the game, he's a full-on family member with full abilities, just like, you know, any other family member. It would not be a skin or a cameo appearance. It would be a full, fleshed-out character.
Got to give Chop Top everything that Chop Top deserves.
100% agree.
I saw what you did there, Wes. Chop Top could be coming. Maybe someone confirmed. Maybe they're working on it. Who knows? I guess we'll have to see. All right, one question and its answer that I'm so excited for, because, you know, we have been playing this game for a couple months and kind of the escapes are pretty much the same, which I don't mind it. Obviously, like, each game is different based on who's playing it, but will there be different escapes with the release of new maps? This is their answer.
Short answer, yes.
Boom.
Moving on.
All right, I know that a lot of people have been having issues with parties, like, being disbanded after you exit a game or whatnot. And they asked, like, will there be a fix, or is there a fix that we can expect anytime soon? And this is what they had to say.
This is actually marked as needs more info. We have made some changes and fixed a few things with parties. But I can say this, our support team desperately needs more info on this. If this is happening to you and happening to you regularly, please reach out and get in touch with our support team and start a dialogue so they can get that information that they need. I know it's been in a couple of different Muerto times where it's been, you know, needs more info, but we're not getting that uptick that we need in order to really kind of, you know, hone in on it.
Yep.
Okay, so those were the questions that people asked through the Reddit, something that they took, I think 400 something questions, and they combined them into about 60 or so questions. I'm just giving you the big ones, and some of them kind of have multi-layered questions, so obviously they're together. They answer some of those together. But also Twitch had some questions that they answer at the end, so I'll include some of those right now, starting with, will emotes be added to the game?
I mean, there's some discussion about emotes that can help with gameplay, but not like dancing and stuff. It doesn't fit the world of Texas. You're not going to see the equivalent of like, you know, Chad Speedo from Friday the 13th doing a dance over Jason. Like you're not going to see that in Texas. It doesn't match the theme and the tone of the game. But there is discussion about some ways that can you use emotes in case you're not using a microphone, for example. So there's some discussions around that, but I'm not going to make any promises yet because again, it's right now it's literal discussions is where we're at.
What about proximity chat?
No, no. We had it on Friday and it fit for that, but it wasn't something we wanted to do. No, we thought we needed to do for this game. We like the sort of team feel of who can hear who and why, and yeah, we also saw some, you know, if the in Friday we saw some toxic behavior with, you know, Jason being able to talk to and so on and so forth. Like there's, but again, the tone of that game, it sort of fits where Texas is a bit more serious, a bit more brutal. It just doesn't quite fit the tone of it.
A big question that I had in someone on the Twitch community on the live stream, they asked it is, are there any preparations for lobby dodging once new characters come in?
You know, any game with single pick characters is going to deal with that. To an extent, you're going to have folks who they want to play that character. They don't get in. They drop out of the lobby. I think that there's a lot of things that we've discussed internally of like creative solutions to how we might be able to handle something like that, but none of those are quite out of the seed moment yet in order to share here. In terms of when the new characters are released, you know, this is something that we're going to take the time to do right. We're not going to try and accelerate some kind of a change because of a perceived issue that when they drop with lobby dodging. So I'd much rather, and the team would much rather that we tackle this in a more measured and kind of calculated way.
What about family blocking exits? Is that being looked at?
I mean, that is kind of a strategy, I have to say. You know, if you're a big guy and somebody's trying to run out a door, you might stand in front of a door. That being said, we're monitoring as we always do.
Yeah, you know, I mean, obviously, like, I've used that as a strategy before. If, like, you know, people have been rushing out, if I'm playing Bubba, I will block the exit on the basement. I'm sorry. So, obviously, I guess they're saying that it is a strategy. It's not something that is, like, busted. But, as I said, if anything changes, they're keeping an eye on it. And I'm sure they will fix it if it comes down to it becoming some sort of exploit or some sort of like powerful thing that doesn't match with what they perceive as the balance of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game. That was it, everyone. I did my best to take the live stream and make it into a digestible format for YouTube, obviously. Not all the questions and their answers were included. There was a lot of questions. It's almost a 2-hour stream. So I went through a whole stream. And I used also the Discord written version that they published after the stream. And I did my best to kind of combine that along with what I wrote down and some questions that I thought were important or valuable or interesting to hear their responses. So this is a video that I came up with. I hope you did enjoy, and I hope it was at least helpful to you to kind of better understand what's coming, what's not, some of the things that maybe some pain points and some burning questions I've had. And maybe some surprises that you didn't even expect to be answered. But with that being said, thank you so much for watching this video. And I will have more TCM content coming your way very soon. I do apologize about that. There's been some wild stuff coming, you know, with like different games and work and whatnot. But I am back with more TCM content very soon. I should have a cook video in the next couple days, maybe. We'll see. I'll let you all know. Stay tuned. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.